Welcome again to another interview of the Wild Women Symposium that will be in Park City, Utah, October 3rd through 5th at the Prospector. Today I have with me Melanie Lake, who is a dear friend of mine from many years ago, and we have gone through many different experiences together, and we have journeyed into the intuitive experiential realm together and transformational process work together. And I'm super happy that she is back in town because she was on a grand trip down to South America and Mexico, and she's back so that she can actually be one of the facilitators for the Wild Women Symposium. So hi, Melanie.
Hi, Suzanne. You ready for me to talk about me?
Yes, absolutely. I want you to talk all about you. I want you to talk about who you are and what you do and your work and all the different things that you do.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm an intuitive healer, and I love to help people remember who they are and just move forward to get all their dreams and goals in their life. And so I love to see what the blocks are that are keeping them from getting what they want, and be able to kind of bridge those gaps and help them move forward into living the life of their dreams. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself and about my family. I married Wade. He's the love of my life. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary, and he's an inventor, a welder, an artist, and also a warrior and a healer. And that's really handy because we have 5 children. And so our 5 kids are girl, she's 19, and then we have 4 boys. And our boys are 17, 15, 10, and 4. So we have lots of fun with them. I've loved being a mom. I love to be able to teach the kids things and then see how they mirror them back to me and adapt them, and I'm able to learn so much from them. This summer, my daughter was talking, and she had a friend that was really struggling, and he was making some choices that probably weren't the best choices that he could have made. And I have had a note on the fridge for a long time that was a quote from Buddha, and it says, "All paths lead to God." And she was talking to me about her friend, and she started crying, and she said, "Mom, his path to God is so hard to watch." And I just loved the wisdom from her very old soul and her young body, where she just respected and honored the choices that he was making and realized that it is a path to God and it is a valid path. It's really fun to see my kids be able to teach me all these amazing things. So then Caleb is our 17-year-old, and he's a great combination of really strong and present man, and also has a really kind heart. And we love to watch him go do the Spartan race every summer. A Spartan race is like a 13-mile race, and it has all these obstacle courses along the way. So they're climbing ropes and crawling under barbed wire and all these amazing things. So that's Caleb. Then we've got Jade. He's our 15-year-old, and he was named after a rock. He is a Scorpio and really deep, and he was born a shaman. So he's got a great connection to animals and nature, rocks. He was named really well, and he's taught me so much with that deep Scorpio energy that I am really grateful for, and I'm glad I was receptive to his teachings because it's really changed everything for me. Then we've got Willie. He's our 10-year-old. He's intuitive, kind, got a gentle heart. When he was little and I would be working with clients, before he could even talk, he would come in the room when I was with the client, and he would look at the client, and then he would look over at my shelf of homeopathics and essential oils and all these different tools, and he would run over there, he'd look at the client again, and he'd grab something off the shelf, bring it over and give it to the client, and it was always such a shortcut. It would totally cruise them through the session and help them get exactly what they need, and then just run back out. And then we've got our 4-year-old Castle, and he's just all about Legos, action figures, and being big. So he loves to tell us that he weighs 35 pounds, and he's 3 feet and 3 inches tall. And we went on an 8,000-mile journey this last spring, and thank goodness for Legos and action figures, because he played the whole entire time in the car. So those are my kids. We love to be together as a family, love to have time together to learn. We like to read books. We love to be in nature and go camping and go on adventures together. So about a year and a half ago, we were in a place where we were really feeling stuck. We were like comfortably stuck. really we had all the comforts in our life. Everything was really good, but we were just stuck, and I didn't feel like we were progressing, and I felt like there was so much more in life for us. And so I found this, somebody who was reading Walden, Henry David Thoreau, and he said, "I went into the woods because I wanted to live deliberately. I wanted to live deep and suck all the marrow of life, to put out all that was not life, and not when I came to die discover that I had not lived." And we really took that to heart, and I realized there was so much more that life had to offer, and we wanted to just live deep and suck all the marrow out of life. So shortly after that, a family came into our life that had been living in Guatemala and told us about it, and the instant we met them, I said, "Oh, I've got to get your information. This is what I want to do." And so later that day, Wade and I talked and decided this is it. We are going to just change everything, and we're going to start living a life differently. So last spring we hatched this plan, and we spent about 6 to 9 months it took us to start just scaling down everything. We sold almost everything we had, and started getting ready for a journey. And then last spring we went down to Guatemala. We drove through Mexico. That was our 8,000-mile journey I was talking about. We drove 8,000 miles the whole time. So we drove through Mexico. We spent 19 days just staying in different places through Mexico on our way to Guatemala. Then spent a couple of months in Guatemala, and then came back for the summer. So we loved that. We loved learning, being with new cultures and learning a new language. Just all the ideas. It was so fascinating every day to wake up and just be in a new place and realize there was so much to learn from just learning where the street signs were we finally figured out about a week or two into our journey that the street signs are on the sides of the buildings, not on the corners of the road. So that was handy, and there was always just something to learn. So many things that were different. A lot of our hobbies in life tend to be about relearning ancient wisdom. So learning things that people used to do hundreds of years ago, and some of the things we've kind of lost. And so being in Guatemala and Mexico was cool because they still have a lot of their customs and cultures that they've carried on and continued. So that was fun to add to our things that we love to learn. Also, we love to garden, and we use all heirloom seeds, and so we grow these beautiful heirloom produce, and we've learned to save seeds and hand pollinate things. We also love to make live cultured foods, which is how they used to prepare their foods to preserve them hundreds of years ago before there was refrigeration. And so they're loaded with tons of probiotics and stuff. So for whatever reason, we just tend to have been drawn to this ancient wisdom and really enjoy learning that. And sometimes Wade, my husband, teaches with me. We teach classes on live cultured foods, herbs, tinctures, and healing balms. I teach kinesiology classes. I just finished a 4-day series where I teach people how to find the blocks energetically in their bodies and then move forward into what they want. So that was really fun. This week we also taught a vision board class. We taught about we've done vision boards for like 15 years, but we've kind of done them and done them in a way that really works well for us. So we taught about the vision boards that we use to get ourselves unstuck and to get ourselves to Guatemala, which is what we really wanted to do. So I just love to help people find the most efficient and effective tools for change and for helping them get what they want. Jack Canfield talks about how we're born with an inner guidance system, and the way we can tell if we're on purpose is by how, and I love that. So I love to just remind people of that and help them realize that when they're doing what they're here to do, there's so much joy in their life. And when something's off, it can be readjusted. They can find that joy again and just live this really happy, joyful life. So the class I'm going to be teaching at the Wild Women Symposium is called Release and Receive, Change Your Story. So it is about, I believe that the thoughts we think create our beliefs, and then our beliefs create our actions, and our actions either keep us from getting our goals or they empower us to achieve our goals. And the stories we tell ourselves and others are really, they really tell the story of our lives. And so we can listen to those stories and start catching what those stories are, really listening to the stories we tell other people, listen to the stories we have going on in our heads, and just correct anything that needs to be adjusted for us that isn't in alignment, that isn't what we want. So in this class, we'll touch on goal setting. Deepak Chopra says that intention has inherent organizing ability. And so there's a lot of power in goal setting, but actually the reason we'll touch on it in this class isn't so much for the powerful goal setting abilities, but because when you set a goal, sometimes it triggers all sorts of things. And so it triggers all these little voices in our head or all these stories we have about ourselves of the reasons why we can't do what we want. The concept of thriving or having a joyful life may be really foreign, and we have all sorts of subconscious beliefs that can arise. And a person can be habituated to struggle or just barely getting by or survival. And so goal setting invites us to reach beyond that, and in that process triggers these little voices in our head. And that's exactly what we want for this class, because we want to be able to catch those little voices and catch those early defense mechanisms, like I won't cry because nobody will come, or I wanted before and I didn't get what I wanted, so I'll never want anything again. This process helps catch those beliefs and then release them, and it's such a relief when you don't have to carry those untruths and those heavy burdens. They really take a lot of energy that's exhausting. When you let go of those, that energy can be put towards anything you want, towards achieving what you want. This is an interesting thing, is that our thoughts command our brain. Our brain just takes in whatever we say as complete truth. It's really neutral. So whatever we tell it, it will just believe and go for. So I was doing a process with a class that was similar to this about a month or two ago. And I invited them to drop into some negative beliefs, specifically some despair and despondency about ever achieving what they wanted. And I was in a place where I could do it with them. So as I was leading the class, I just did that with them. And I thought, what should I work on? And I thought, well, I'm teaching, so let's dig for any places that I have despair or hopelessness around teaching. And so I dropped into that place, and I started thinking, oh, this isn't working. Why am I teaching classes? Nobody cares. This isn't, and that was the point of the exercise, is I wanted to go find those beliefs deep inside of me. And so I did that, went through this whole cycle, and I'm just thinking, this is such a dumb idea. I had all these beliefs surfacing. And then we let go of the beliefs. We did the process to let go of the beliefs, and then we did the process to bring in the positive things of what we wanted. We got through that positive process, and I looked back up, and in front of me I see there's 25 students that I have in this class. Their eyes are all sparkling. They're so excited for the transformation they're experiencing right then in that moment. And it just made me laugh and realize that this is so true, that our brain really does just take in whatever we tell it as complete truth. So when I was standing there in that same spot telling my brain, this is a dumb idea, this isn't working, I still had those 25 students right in front of me as my brain's processing, oh yeah, and giving me all this evidence that it's not going to work. And then we went through that release and pulled up the positive beliefs, and I opened my eyes, and there they were, and I could see them, even though it was the same. I was in the same room the whole time. One time I told my brain one thing, it gave me the evidence. The next moment I told my brain the next thing, and it gave me the evidence. So that was a really powerful personal experience for me to realize the truth, to experience the truth of that. So we have a really automated goal-setting mechanism in our brain. I just started reading, what's it called, Goals by Brian, I think it's Brian Tracy. I just started reading it last night, and he talks about homing pigeons and how you can take a homing pigeon out of its cage, put it in a new cage, cover it up with a cloth, and then throw it in the back of an enclosed trailer and drive 1,000 miles in any direction. And then you open up the trailer, pull the cloth off, pull the homing pigeon out of the cage, and he'll fly up into the sky. He'll circle around 3 times, and then he'll head off straight for home, and he just goes unerringly towards home. And we have that same mechanism inside us. We're the only other besides homing pigeons, we're the only other animal on the planet that has that skilled of a homing mechanism. But with one difference with ours, we don't even have to know how we're going to get there or what direction our goals lie. We just have to kind of pull that blanket off of our cage and start being really clear where we're heading, and we will self-correct and head that way, and we don't even have to know how we're going to get there. So I love that. There's a couple of tools that we are going to use in this class. The first tool is acupoints. So the Chinese mapped out the acupuncture system, the meridian system in our bodies 5,000 years ago, and today we have science that can verify the maps of those energy pathways. So meridians are energy pathways that run through our body. We have blood vessels that run through our body and carry blood, and then the meridians run through our body on separate pathways than the blood vessels, but like the blood vessels, they can carry something, which is our energy or our chi. There's points along those pathways that are really valuable for helping us open up to receive things and also to release the things that are no longer wanted. There's in the Chinese acupuncture system, there's meridians and then there's extraordinary vessels, and the extraordinary vessels come before the meridians. In our bodies, they're formed first, and those extraordinary vessels are really great for this process. There's points along our body that help us release hopelessness and turn it into hopefulness. There's points that release helplessness and turn it into capability, that release disconnection and turn it into connection, and also release worthlessness and turn it into the feeling of I'm worthwhile or I'm valuable. So those are really cool. The second technique that we'll use in this class is about how to stop our brain from looping on these negative thoughts. So our brain likes to complete things, and a lot of times we have negative thoughts and we interrupt them in the middle of it. And just like if you are driving along and you're listening to a song on the radio and you turn off the car, you get to your destination, you turn off the car, sometimes in the middle of the night you'll wake up and that very song is playing, your brain's trying to complete it. Or you wake up, it's like your alarm clock, you wake up in the morning and there it is, it's playing. Also, when we're talking to a friend and we say, oh, what was I going to say? I forgot. Our brain will keep on searching for that thought, and sometimes it'll wake you up in the middle of the night, and finally it'll go, oh, thank you for finding that thought. Now I can rest. So our brain likes to finish things, and so we'll talk about a skill that we can use, a tool that we can use to help our brain stop looping those negative thoughts so they can learn how to complete them so they can just be done and we can move forward so it doesn't keep replaying in our heads. And then the third tool that we'll use is essential oils in that class. Essential oils go straight into your limbic brain, which is your emotional brain. They can provide safety and security, and they are also powerful tools for change at the same time. They provide that safety and security, and they can also give us clues into why we're stuck where we are and how to move forward. So as I've been teaching, my cousin and I created this process. We were asked to speak to a group of business people in July, and we created this class for that. And we've taught it several times since then to different groups and learned a lot about personally and about this process. One of the great things that I learned is that as people were sharing in this class the negative thoughts they had running through their heads, it's really interesting that everybody's are just the same. They're the same or really similar. So I remember the first time we taught it, this girl raised her hand and said, you know, I just have this voice in my head that says I'm not good enough. And she was really scared. She said, I have this really bad one. It's really bad. It says I'm not good enough. And so I said, oh, has anybody else ever felt that? And the whole class raises their hand. And then somebody else says, you know, mine is just saying that I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money to get what I want. And I said, has anybody ever experienced that? Anybody else ever experienced that they felt like they didn't have enough money to do something they wanted? Everybody raises their hand, and it just goes on and on. And it was so fascinating for those people in the room to realize, and for me, it's just the same negative thoughts in all of us, but we tend to want to tuck them inside and don't tell anybody about these negative thoughts. They'll think we're broken. They'll think something's wrong with us. And so when we pull them, when we pull them to our conscious mind from our subconscious mind, it's like they see the light. And as soon as the light hits those negative beliefs, they just start dissipating. Even without the tools, as soon as we bring them to our conscious mind, it starts that process of dissipating them. The other thing that I really loved about this class, the feedback that Megan, my cousin, and I have got about this is that people are, they keep telling us how fabulously it's working, and also how they're able to teach it to other people. So I love that it's a really simple process. It's powerful, but it's simple enough that not only can people go home and use it, but they can teach it to the people they love. They can teach it to the people that they were sitting in the class thinking, oh, he needs this and she needs this, and they were able to go home and teach it to them, and they had great effects with it. And so I've loved that. So I really believe that our bodies they just correct themselves really well. We give them proper tools, and our bodies just get right back in alignment with where they were headed and where we want to go. And so I'm really excited to share this process with you at the Wild Women Symposium, and I invite you to come play with me and all the other great instructors at the Wild Women Symposium.
Thanks, Melanie. I love all the information because all this stuff is so critically important right now for, there's so much negativity happening in the world right now. And I really wanted to create the Wild Women Symposium to be a force of positive, to be a force of energy that's good and inspiring and uplifting, because I believe that we have those extreme swings, and we can learn when the swing is way far down how to really bring yourself really to a much higher place. And your tools are perfect and they're wonderful, and I'm so excited that you're coming to the symposium and you're going to play with us. So again, you can actually go on the Wild Women Symposium page, which is www.wildwomensymposium.com. You can click on the instructors, you can scroll down and find Melanie, and you'll be able to hear this whole video again if you want, and you can look at all the different instructors. You can also go on the Eventbrite page and you can get a ticket. There's still tickets available before the event, and if you scroll down on the description, you'll absolutely be able to see an agenda and class descriptions, and you can actually click on that and you'll go to a place where you can actually sign up for Melanie's class ahead of time if you want. So once again, Melanie, thank you so much for coming to the Wild Women Symposium, and I'll see you in just a few days.
Okay, thank you.
Talk to you later. Bye.